We were a little out of it. It sounds loud up here.
No, it's not too loud.
I don't know.
No reason. No, there's no reason to that I can think of. You're not gonna call me any mean names, are you?
None that you don't know already.
Okay, none I've heard already, nothing new.
Of the power line upgrade on Moore Road. Okay, you've seen some of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I see, they're clearing. There must have been the powers on that side of the road.
On the east side.
So you would think if they're gonna upgrade it, just put in some better poles. Higher lines, I think, I'm not so sure. Maybe they're thinking about widening, maybe they're thinking about upgrading the road.
Well, one would think that's a possibility,
Yeah.
but that vegetation is really tight, right up
Mhm.
to the edge.
Yeah.
There is no workable shoulder from Cliff Road south.
Mhm. No, there isn't. No. When you get on more and go up, from more and Chris, you go towards areas, you can see that you get trees right here on each side. So if they do anything on if you're going down on the left side, they need to let it fit.
Is that a really tough shoulder?
I don't think there's much there. I think when you start up that other hill, there's much there. But they could easily, I mean, you've got a, I'm sure it's a 66-foot right away.
Yeah.
So they could slide it, yeah. To whatever side they want.
I think they first ride all the way down the other day. They had fire trucks up here on Williamsburg Road. That was blocking home, and they were routing everybody.
Well,
And I didn't know that more road connected to Bunker Hill. So now I know the bypass.
was it pretty rocky? Neat,
No,
not,
actually, no, it was dusty,
yeah.
but there were 18 wheelers that were being rerouted.
Oh, yeah.
That was dusty.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very involved with,
yeah,
person there.
yeah, yeah.
So I told him. Rich. That it was consuming powder. Treatment.
Mhm.
Right in the background. Several.
Wow.
No, they get their power from charity.
Interesting.
They very well could, because see, ours is cherry land. And when the power goes out, it seems like in the corner of Crisp and Moore. That they've had trees fall over and cherry land will go out and fix it. And our power is cherry land, but that doesn't mean somebody else is even put in the line. I mean, that happens frequently.
It does.
It doesn't, just because Cherryland owns it, doesn't mean they have a contract with somebody else to do it. Or maybe the power on Moore, or on, where you turn by, can't think of his name. The guy with the horses. Yeah, you turn by Miller's there, now maybe from there down, that might actually be consumers.
Yeah, I know that. The business. Fuel services,
Oh,
or at least one does, for sure.
okay.
They have service.
Alternate feeds coming in.
Okay.
So we back up power.
I think it's more along the lines of circumstances.
Okay.
Right, so through the years, I only expanded. And for whatever reason, they went with a different power. Okay, maybe because it was free. And one charge to bring it in, I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe one didn't have the power, and it might have capacity, it might have had to go to plan B. And, so I don't, that's very well could be.
I don't know why they would put another line in there. I just don't know why they would do that. Unless they're gonna go to 3 phase. Looks like it's only 2 phase.
Oh, mhm,
So maybe they're upgrading that way.
mhm. And they might, it looks like they're going farther down. So they're gonna extend that. I wonder if that, maybe that guy with that RV park down there is, if he's gonna upgrade. I don't know, but if he is, you know, each one of those is 50 amps, he certainly probably doesn't have the capacity for that.
That's I knew. Couldn't get over.
Oh,
It was coming to. In yurts, which are temporary structures,
okay,
but the building code recognizes them as permanent.
yeah,
And so there was. That was back in April, I mean.
Oh. oh,
Is this Silver Ridge? Campground?
I don't know what he was gonna call it.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, there was just a big splash on the ticker. About him opening the first phase.
Oh, okay.
And it was yurt style building
Was it?
on a platform. Raised
Yeah.
up.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
And are those, now those must classify must be classified as an RV? Must be, because if it's a trailer, I don't know, our zoning, you know, it didn't look, I don't know if that would be within the zoning
It must have been, the planning commission approved it.
for an RV park, right? I thought, oh, did they, oh, okay.
But there's only like 12.
Yeah, yeah, wasn't that big back there, was it?
So I can't imagine you need a lot of.
Yeah,
Maybe the yurts.
well, those yours, maybe he'd want more than 50 amps. Too, might want 100 amps for each one, and
Yeah, I don't know.
oh,
So I think at this point, it's just the power line clearing.
yeah,
Claiming the easement. They are cutting trees on both sides of it.
mhm,
They are on the west side now?
Well,
I
they're
did,
marked,
yeah.
they're marked.
Okay.
In the really low lines, they're marked. And the only thing I was thinking is that the trees were tall enough that if they fell, they.
Yeah.
Impact the line.
yeah.
I don't know.
I was surprised to see that. When I see him, glad you're doing it, you know, so maybe
You're the only one.
if you get a storm, it won't come over and knock the power out.
But you're the only one.
Let me give you.
You can say wherever you would like to sit. I didn't know.
Well, the thing is, right there within there, right?
Closes to the door.
Well,
Whatever you say.
could possibly play in the speakers.
You know, it's talking with Roger, they're within there, right?
Yeah,
So I mean, just because they're expressing their use. of it, I don't know. You know, we found that with pipelines, with our flow lines going through wells. You might have one going through there and you're supposed to be cleared by the federal ones. Cleared. Well, you don't do it and let them grow up and then you start clearing them and my God. And, you know, you explain to them that this has to be cleared. It's a requirement. We should have been doing it all along, but it doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
That was one guy down by Rose City, him and his 3 sons got out of the car, he was clearing the pipeline, and I went down there. Oh, I thought I was gonna have to fight him. They'd been drinking, you know, and he got out and you could hear him screaming when he pulled up my car. I thought, okay, this ought to be fun. Yeah, and he come out and started get on and got back at him and then he started on to explain to him, we have to do this. We're required to do this. Just, I'd really not spend the money either. But we have to do this and we're beyond and once we talked to him a little bit, because it was gonna be deer season. And I talked to him and said, you know, so we have to do this. He said, well, if you go back in there a little bit, we can't get through the four-wheelers because there's a little dip there and it is wet. And could you do something with that? I said, I probably can't, but what I do, I put a culvert in there. We'll put some sand over it for you, where you can pass.
Okay.
And if I have to take it out, you understand, I got, you know, the DNR, so I gotta take it out, but for now, I said, just throw a culvert in there for you and put some dirt. Thanks, you know?
Yeah.
But those people, they don't, like Ron was saying, I mean, they're within their right of way.
Sure. Well, it is always a surprise when a utility company goes through and that just, it's. My perspective is. There is a notification somewhere that should be,
I think sometimes that's not a good idea. Because the same people that would be very, very opposed. If they know he's coming next week, would they do something? They could get an attorney, maybe write an injunction against you.
yeah.
To stop you and or once you get started, a judge would probably say they're within their rights, but if you haven't started yet. That,
Yeah, it's not great.
I think.
There's two sides to it.
Mhm.
I like that.
That's the mobile app.
That's my nature.
Yeah. So you know what's going on and
Yep.
found. Sometimes if you, and sometimes if you tell them, like the big farmers. You tell them come through where they appreciate those switches in the ground or something, you know, and they'll work with you sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But some of them, if you tell them, you find yourself. What I do this. So,
It's almost like being a policeman out there.
you know,
Somebody's gonna be unhappy with you.
yeah, but a lot of times they could give somebody a little bit, like we built a lot of, you know, build a lot of wells. Build a lot of cases and stuff, but people that don't have the mineral rights, of course, they don't want to. You know, nothing to do, we have the right point to, so. You know, what can we do to, then we need to help them, and some feed them, right? You know, put something in it, take 15 yards of gravel, maybe good gravel, and set it down and. Nobody will ever know, but you know, now you've got a friend.
Yeah, it was just 2 weeks.
It didn't cost.
Was that your graduating class behind you?
No, I graduated in '69.
That'd be earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually went to the,
That's Carl's class.
I went to grade school along the way. I was tore down up where that high grade park is.
Yeah.
They had school there, and that's where these guys went to school. And I went up to the 6th grade there.
Wow.
And then
You went through the whole school.
made, yeah, the 6th grade, and then they tore it down and moved everybody to Elk Rapids.
I got the high school.
Yeah. Yes,
No,
yes.
that's fine.
Change things up.
But that school there, they had like the 5th and 6th grade on the same room. The teacher was split in half with little Pierce. Should teach these guys a little bit and give her something to do. Go to the 6th grade and teach them a little bit, you know, and it was a lot of it, you know, like 3 stories, I think it was. And so they did that all the way, so we got on top
Yeah,
of
we've got this stuff he's using right now.
consolidated without traffic,
The name of it.
seventh grade up. Okay, so,
Oh,
I think
a big change in the community, but.
I think that is probably one of the last years to
Well,
go to school there, but too much longer after that, but you just got go down.
right.
But then I got a cat that brings home stuff bigger than me.
It's hard, it's made of magic.
No, she's got it. Can't think of the name of it right now,
Enough young-
but it's a general. She figures the way type product.
Well, and the thing is, too, we take in a large area. That's always, the reason for there is one that buys, once the bag flow and it goes down. And then, actually go to,
Is Keith not coming? I haven't heard.
or, I mean,
Be here by now.
but it's just quite a large.
I know Rachel's not coming.
Something like 54 square miles.
Okay, you're up.
It's a big township physically.
And Rachel's not coming for sure. I know that.
Oh, that's true.
I know that for sure, 100%.
It's easier if I can get my computer on.
Wherever you want to sit then, where do you need to sit? Wherever you need to sit, we can move. There's not assigned seats here. Are you good enough there?
What?
Are you good enough with your computer there? Okay, good. All right.
There you go.
All the plaid shirts on that side.
Oh, I got like floppy. I'm like, I gotta be with Lois. She got flowers on her skirt. So did anybody get anything from Bob? Okay,
No.
I didn't either.
I think I read something that he was attending. So maybe that is through Zoom.
Everybody enjoy Cherry Fest.
I don't go to Cherry Fest. What? I went one day. I shouldn't say that. I was in the middle of the water on a boat. Okay, I go there. That's it. That was it.
Cherry Fest.
I viewed it from far away.
I think we went to Costco and got gas.
That's about all I did too. I think that's the only place I had to go. That was it. Not even the grocery store.
That's pretty common, isn't it?
Yeah,
The locals do stay
Yeah.
away.
After you go 2 or 3
better.
times,
yeah.
it depends if there's something you want to see.
Do you like the concerts or do you like them? Okay.
And the daughter.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Ferris wheel?
Ferris wheel? Yeah. You got it done, huh? Good. The good grandma.
I think if I had little kids, I'd be taking them. but
Yeah,
I don't have little kids, so it's,
Well, I believe we're ready to get going. Mic check. I think we've got all one of those. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll have Rachel help me here whenever she sees me stumbling. I think we're, roll call, right, Rachel? Or excuse me, not Rachel, but Lois.
We'll help you. You got this. Hey, you got this, Al. Come on. You've had practice and everything.
I
You're
know
good.
it.
Yes. Is not available. Keaton,
Here.
Jacobson,
Here.
Robel,
Here.
Rebant,
Here.
DeYoung. Velmuth.
Here. You want to mark he's not available, please? Thank you.
Okay, set and adjust the meeting, the agenda. I believe everything is,
I need to add one thing.
okay,
I need to add a discussion on payroll for the SOP
okay.
and hopefully, I don't know how we're gonna discuss that with Keith not being here, but let's.
Just move your thing.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to add payroll for the SOP meetings, 2 of them, a discussion on it. I don't know how we're gonna do that with one party missing. I'll let the two decide if you want to retable it and send back to the board that we still have to contact a member, but please add it to the agenda. And also add amendment 81 with a question mark. And you can add those wherever you'd like. You can put
Okay.
one in new business, one in old business, since we already had a discussion on the payroll part.
We have, how about down on 9E where it says additional items?
Wherever you want to put it.
Does that sound good?
10E,
What'd you say? Oh, 10E?
10E. for
Okay.
the SOP pay.
Okay,
And then you're gonna put it under new business for 81?
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of falls, that's a missing paperwork issue.
81. Okay. Oh, we all set?
Do you want to add, Rod, it's up to you. Do you want to add one, and Randy, it's up to you. Do you want to add about discussion of the volunteer for the bylaws, or do you think you got that covered under this? Do you think 10A covers volunteers, basically? Or do you need to add a separate for more discussion? It's up to you.
I think it fits under the bylaws, 10A.
Think it's covered enough that we can talk about? Okay,
Yeah,
that's all I got.
okay, and I want to discuss the feedback from the attorney on that when we get down to that too, so. So, any declaration of conflict of interest? None for me. Okay, there's none. We're open to public comment. Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting to the PC. Shall comments be carried out in accordance with the following rules and procedures. Comments shall be directed to the PC with questions directed to the chair. Any person wishing to address the PC shall speak from the lectern or use the raise hand on Zoom and state his or her name and address. Persons may address the PC on matters that are relevant to the Township Planning Commission and zoning issues. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer questions. Answer any questions of a PC member. Public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Okay, Ron, did you?
I do have some public comment.
Okay.
Good evening, Ron Pop. I had a conversation earlier with a board member, a planning commission member, about a contract here this evening that's going to be discussed.
Okay,
I didn't mean to upset the PC member in our discussion, but I did. Because I offered some resistance to Finding this agreement you're gonna talk about tonight immediately in the morning. And so what I did is I copied pages, the actual minutes from the joint meeting 5/17, which I was absent, and I've highlighted it here. And as a reason for not potentially signing this agreement that you approved tonight, first thing in the morning. How I read the minutes under topic number 4 is the planning commission during the joint meeting made a request for $5,000. The board members expressed that they needed a clearer scope of work to approve a larger dollar amount. Then apparently the PC presented a contract for $800, which then went through a motion, which is also highlighted, and a full roll call vote of the board to approve the $800 expenditure. My interpretation of these minutes is that the board wanted to see whatever contract you guys were reviewing here tonight before approving. Now, if I've misread the tea leaves, or there's some that I need to look at the backside of, please help me out when you get to that point, okay? So that's why I responded the way I did, because I read the minutes to a meeting that I was not present at, and this is my understanding. So, very good, thank you.
Ron, could I ask a question of you? Okay, the intent was, was to get Randy to help us with the
Do
zoning.
we have a discussion on this
and,
right now like this or no?
I'm responding to the chair. So,
I guess you can answer it.
Well, I would certainly think I could. Yeah, I guess my question is, the intent of it was to, to get Randy to help us with the bylaws and the zoning, and I believe that's what we're discussing. What was that?
Again, my interpretation is that item number 4
Okay.
from 5/17 was with respect to how Network Northwest
Okay.
was going to assist this group with surveys and tabulations and so on and so forth. Okay.
Yes.
And I take it that there was one agreement present, 5/17, that had a value of $800 to do some service. And then the PC was requesting an additional $5,000 for some other work, but apparently didn't have a work scope or didn't have a clean enough work scope for the board to approve at 5/17. So the minutes are brief,
Yeah.
but this is my interpretation. So again, maybe while you're discussing that agreement tonight, if you get to it on your agenda, you'll be able to talk amongst yourselves about it, and I'll be able to better understand.
That it's coming when you jog my memory.
Okay,
I appreciate that. And I think I remember what that was that was initial to get started. The 800 would had to be done initially to get them going like the next day or something like that. And that we had authority to do within our means to write a check, if you will, but the 5,000, if I remember right, was going to be the cost for them to totally evaluate and tabulate the results. Am I thinking right, Rod?
Well,
48.
it was around 4,900, and it had not had the due diligence performed to identify every component. What we had done is started out with the very first piece, which was the $800 request.
Okay.
This is a moving target. It's not something that we had firm numbers on. But as I recall, there was a max limit that we had settled with for the beginning launch which was roughly $4,900.
It's not in the minutes. And so,
Yeah,
again, the discussion earlier today is why would the board have to approve a $2,200 contract? And my point here is that I can't answer you that, but on 5/17, the board felt that the $800 contract needed a motion and full roll call vote to approve.
well, I will challenge that decision in that discussion that we had today, because I find very flawed interpretation of how this whole project has proceeded.
You guys, we're still in public comments. You realize that, right?
I am,
Okay.
yeah, I know it, I know it. But I respect the supervisor's opinion,
No
but
problem.
that's how I feel.
Thank you.
Maybe I could clarify though, too, my recollection of that meeting to help in that Networks Northwest was originally spending the $800 to put the survey online and create the link for us. They transferred what was in the written survey into an electronic survey and then created the mechanism for people to go from either from the township website through a link to theirs to do stuff electronically. We knew that there would be a substantial number of paper surveys coming in and that there would be time and effort necessary to convert that from the paper surveys to electronic. And not knowing how many surveys we were going to get, we didn't have a actual number that we could attach to it. Now there is a survey, now there is numbers, we know how many surveys there are. A contract can be prepared. And I believe all that was discussed with the township board on the 15th and 17th, right? 17th, yeah. Yeah, so it was, I believe, understood that what we were doing was a two-step contract, but we didn't know the other end of it until the survey was complete and we had some idea of the response rate. So
That's
that's your
correct.
recollection?
That's correct. The vendor wanted a firm number of paper surveys to provide that contract bid. And we didn't know whether the number was 100, 300, or 500. So we were unable to execute a contract, period.
Turn the air conditioner off, please.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm also, I'm sorry, one other
that's
point.
okay.
Pardon me, Heidi.
That's all right.
I'm also not sure what they mean by a clear scope of work to put first a larger dollar amount. We had talked about also the potential of having Networks Northwest help us with the workshops. And I think that conversation may have gotten tangled up in this as well.
Well, since is the zoning administrator on, but we still have to prove some minutes here, you guys, before we start with this meeting.
Well, we also have Zoom members that
Right,
we need
correct,
to hear from.
correct. Do we have?
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you guys, can we get back to the agenda and can we put this under the topic it belongs under, please? Like maybe unfinished number B.
Okay, is there anything on Zoom? Anybody on Zoom?
Thank you.
There are 2 people on Zoom, no one with their hand up.
And you said Bob is not on Zoom.
It's not one of the 2 on Zoom.
Is Rachel on Zoom?
It's not one of the
Is
2 on Zoom.
Any, there's no let me see.
No correspondence.
No, okay, no
But you
public
gotta go
hearing.
back to number 7, hon.
Yeah, no public hearing, okay. Approval of the minutes for our June 7th meeting, regular meeting.
I got a question about that, when you get down near the bottom of the page, the D. And we're in the, public hearing part of the meeting. It says there was no correspondence, but, so my question is, a few of us read letters that people had given to us as response, and those people are listed later on.
Right,
But
but shouldn't it
aren't
be
those
under,
letters correspondence? Don't they qualify as correspondence? Somebody. wrote
yeah,
them
because
in.
most of these people we had to read, they weren't at the meeting.
That's my point. They weren't here at the meeting. They wrote a letter and we read their letter. Isn't that correspondence? If they were here in person, then it wouldn't be correspondence.
But does it change to public comment because we read it?
It says
doesn't
read
change
in,
the public comment. It just, do we have this labeled correctly is my question. It says correspondence received, none. If we receive those letters, aren't they correspondence? That's my question.
I could put in their letters received as public comment.
Could you, something?
I mean, I guess I don't understand, and that's why I'm asking the question.
And this is on page 4.
Well, because if you, right. it's
Page 3. I mean-
Page 3.
Oh,
And Mike, you kind of right there, because if you think about it, public comment tells me you were in the meeting.
Right,
Correspondence tells me you weren't.
right. And
So,
that's my, and.
I mean,
I'm asking because I don't understand.
I don't
If
know,
it's right,
I
it's
can't
right.
give you an answer there. I think it should be separated though, so that, I mean,
It is. It says reading of public comments and then in person. And then there was none on Zoom. Or was there? They're listed separately.
And-
But I
oh
can
yeah,
put that
see how she's
instead of-
got in person, Mike, look, under Kim Magnus. It says in person.
Right.
But
No,
I think
I
the
realize that.
other-
That's what I said. They're all, those correspondence are listed. But, like what you just said, when I read this, I guess that clarifies it. So I was just asking a question because I didn't understand. To me, a letter that we received is correspondence. I didn't know if that's how it works.
But then if you read it, is it still correspondence or does it become public comments?
That's my question. I mean, it is a public comment. But they didn't read it themselves. They didn't bring it to us. It was given to us. as
read into the
correspondence.
minutes
Yeah,
to become part of the document,
Right.
so it would be part of the meeting.
yeah. See,
Okay.
and it's
Have
just,
we set a precedence? Does anybody know if we set a precedence already? Is this how we normally list it? Lois, is this how you normally list it?
okay, and so that's my question.
Well,
So that answers.
I have a question on that as well. Approval of
What page are you on first?
what?
What page are you on?
I'm making a comment on the approval of the minutes right now. Just wait a minute. The June 7 minutes with my understanding, the approval of the PC was not. The approval of the minutes, if we approve these minutes, I would want it with the understanding that we're not approving the change that the attorney had sent. With the addition of the executive committee, the ad hoc, we addressed in our bylaws what we wanted our subcommittees to be on page 9. This is subcommittee operations. And even on that, so I think we already have that addressed. And my concern is by adding layers, we're going to make it more difficult to have subcommittees. So I would say if we can prove the minutes, but that does not approve the draft proposal from the attorney. In section 3, pages 7 and 8. And my concern was I didn't want to prove, go ahead, Randy.
I'll just offer a clarification. The attorney's recommendation wasn't available in June. It was just two questions that the attorney raised. The planning commission answered them and then produced what's in the packet for tonight's meeting. Am I misunderstanding?
So, well, it looks, the impression I have on it here is, here's a draft proposal of the bylaws. When you use the term amendment, that made me think that we was gonna amend our subcommittee bylaws on page 9. And because it would, and so that's, I want to make sure by approving the minutes, we're not automatically approving the amendment.
No,
No.
they're two separate issues.
Two
Okay.
separate issues.
Well, that's what I wanted to get clarified.
Okay, do you have anything wrong with the minutes, pages 3, 4, and 5? Do you have any problem with anything on there? That's what we're in discussion of right now.
No,
Correct.
no,
Nothing? You don't have no? Al, you got nothing?
No.
You're good with all these? Got anything wrong?
I'm all set.
I got nothing. Michael, you got anything else? We'll go the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Carl? Lois, you didn't say anything. So you cared to discuss? Go ahead. You can call for a vote. Everybody's done.
okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as they are.
I'll second the motion.
Oh, so you don't want correspondence received?
If this
Letter.
is how you normally do it, that's fine. Now I understand. See, I just didn't understand. So if this is the normal procedure, that's how it works, then I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
And you already set a precedence by doing this in the past, correct? Lois? Okay. I'm good. I have no changes.
And then who had a second? Sorry.
I did. Revamp.
Thank you. Heaton,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Robel,
Yes.
Rebant,
Yes.
Steelman is not available. DeYoung, not available. Volmuth,
Yes.
Okay, correspondence, none. Reports, from zoning reports, presentation, announcements and comments. Zoning administrator Hall. Okay, okay. Nothing from Rachel. Heidi?
Is on the line.
Heidi, okay. Oh, did
That
you,
would be up to her.
did you have anything, Rachel?
No, I don't. Thanks.
Just checking. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Anything from you, Heidi?
Well, things have transpired in the last several hours, so I had a report, now I don't have a report. I'm gonna take some notes and see what you guys want me to bring to the table, because when I'm bringing back, I have no news, so.
Okay. Okay. Carl, did you have anything from zoning board?
There were no meetings.
Okay, good. Any additional items? Andy, did you have anything at all? Okay, good. Okay, we'll move down to unfinished business. We have bylaws, feedback from our legal, and discussion, edits, and approval. And I believe everybody has that, the draft from the attorney. Has everybody had a chance to look that over and review it?
I haven't,
Should I?
Pardon?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, here, take mine,
it's part of the package.
here, take.
back here.
Great, it's more welcome to.
You can have.
Pages 7 and 8,
Mine.
Carl.
All right, hold on.
You got notes.
Yeah, thank you, Lois. I appreciate that. I stumble enough and we'll get through it. Like, well, let's give Carl, if you would, let's give Carl a minute to kind of review that. We can go ahead and start on any comments.
If I could, I would just like to provide some little history and context of
Okay.
how we got to where we are. We had back in, I think it was April, this matter was discussed at the planning commission, the fact that even though we had just updated our bylaws, there was still some missing elements with regard to how subcommittees function in the planning commission. We prepared a draft set of bylaws that was reviewed by the planning commission, I believe in April. Or at the beginning of May. I can't remember exactly which, but anyway, it was recommended that we send that to the attorney for the attorney's review. Make sure there wasn't anything in there that's contradictory to state law, although the Planning Enabling Act just has one sentence that says the planning commission shall adopt bylaws. But of course, we want to make sure we don't have anything in the bylaws that is contrary to other provisions. So at the June meeting, well, I'm sorry, in May 25th, our attorney, which was Hannah Stockler, came back with some questions. And we reviewed those at the June meeting. She had two questions about whether the township wanted to permit a subcommittee chair to be a non-PC member. And the answer to that was no. We wanted to have a PC member be the chair. And then there were some other questions about allowing people to participate in Zoom. And we answered those. So those answers were carried back to our attorney. And then she produced the draft that you have in front of you tonight. So that's how we got to where we are. There's material that's added to that about the fact that you have it in your packet, but a couple of things to highlight that a committee of this sort, which does not have membership, not have a quorum's worth of membership on the committee, is not a public body, according to her statement. And that's written in the bylaws to make that clear. And a number of other clarifications. I don't want to go on here. If you have, I know that.
No, the only
thoughts you had.
No, go ahead. The only thing I had on it was I believe everything would be that we have on subcommittee operations, page 9. I believe that covers everything that the attorney had labeled in his amendment. So my feeling is if we follow what we have on page 9, where it says 3 subcommittee operations, we're in compliance. We're in compliance with the legislature has handed us down as far as subcommittees. So I guess are we in an agreement or no?
I'd like to
Okay.
just add a few comments here. As I read the draft, it's specifically targeted for the PC. I don't see anything where it refers to Parks and Rec or the board or any other legislative body within Whitewater Township. And I'm just wondering, shouldn't this be a set of bylaws that will be adapted at all levels of the organization, not just the PC? And that's just a general comment that I think the board should address. The second is that we have only, the PC in my short 6 months, have only instituted subcommittees. We've not done the executive subcommittee nor the ad hoc subcommittee that I'm aware of. And maybe those are good organizations, but my personal feeling on the subcommittee is it's a very effective way to allow work to be done and recommendations being made. So, my initial thought is, I really like that there are some very clear operating, procedures to work from. And I think the PC has struggled in the past, not having these kinds of organizations at their disposal to move particularly cumbersome projects forward. So for whatever it's worth, I think it's a very valuable tool. How it's spelled out here is very clear to me now. And there is a difference between how a subcommittee can operate or will operate versus the more formal planning commission organization.
And it also clears up the issue of the pay. Because it says may be paid. So you can opt not to be paid.
We don't agree that, that those topics are covered on page 9 of the other ones, and are we saying that the proposal, the way the attorney, the amendment is what you want to adopt? Is that what I'm hearing?
If I could clarify, when I took the first draft of this back in June or May, May, I guess, several months ago. This in part came from draft material that Michigan State put together for planning commissions in terms of how subcommittees can work. And so there was a good place to start. And when I reviewed what they had, I found the executive committee mentioned there, and it occurred to me that that might make sense to consider here at this level because of the fact that the township had made a decision to let the planning commission in some ways manage its budget. And so there would be some internal controls if you had an executive committee, but it really wasn't the focus. So if you really choose to delete the executive committee, that doesn't hurt us in any way, I don't think. And if you want to come back to that, it's up to you. I don't know. Historically, it seemed to me that the planning commission didn't share information about the budget, where it stood.
And now we do.
And now, yeah, in this packet, you have financial material. So it's up to you. Maybe that was confusing things if you want to delete that.
Rod, you had a lot of experience with the subcommittees you've worked with, and what's your opinion?
Well, I have no problem approving all 3 committees as it's drafted here.
The amendments?
The amendments. I don't know that we, the PC, would have an executive subcommittee nor an ad hoc subcommittee. But moving forward, I absolutely believe the subcommittee operation, like the ROS, is a perfect example of what the PC can use as a second arm to help develop and move some of our projects forward.
Do you believe that though we need this amendment in order to do
Yes,
that?
yeah,
Okay.
I absolutely want to see black and white clarity.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Carl, did you have anything?
You're asking if we would prefer subcommittees to review the items or the full?
No, what else on these amendments to our bylaws governing the subcommittee appointments? Are you okay with the amendments, or would you choose to leave it as a
Okay.
previous one?
I somehow. There must have been a couple of
Here,
blank
would you-
pages I missed.
would you
when I was reading that.
He's got
Okay,
What page?
that is on page, the amendments, Carl, are 7 and 8, and then our standalone was, I guess you'd call it standalone, was on page 9.
Wait a minute. I think page 9 is the last
of-
page of the attorney's Right.
last page, okay,
Correct.
8 and 9 is
So-
from the attorney.
Right, 8 and 9 are the attorney's copy of our
okay, okay.
original
Yeah.
defendant. So
Okay.
the question, Carl, is, do we like our copy of these amendments, or do we like the attorney's
Attorney, which one do
a
you want?
copy of these amendments better? And in my own personal opinion, I think the lawyer's copy clarifies everything, makes it all very clear in black and white. I like what they've done.
Yeah, I was reading through
What
that.
changed.
I would,
So I read it.
Okay, so-
I would agree with that.
Okay, so do we need, should we have a motion to adopt the amendment then?
Well, do
It's
we
not
have-
substantially different than what we said. It's
No,
organized quite a
no.
little bit different. And I would just also add that, I mean, the reason for subcommittees in a planning commission is not unique to Whitewater Township. It's common because you don't control your agenda. I mean, you could have High Point Golf Course come in here next month and it's going to consume more than likely a meeting or two, as well as other things. So to be able to take a piece of work and move it over and let other people, work through it. And then come back with a recommendation, and the reasoning for their recommendation is valuable.
Yeah, and I'm fully in agreement with subcommittees. I just don't want to make them cumbersome was my only thing. And that's why when I looked at what was on 9 is what we sent the attorney. I thought, well, geez, that should cover everything. But if we're in agreement that we want the draft, we just put up for a motion to approve.
I agree.
Okay, would you want to put that up for motion?
Yeah, I would propose a motion to adopt the PC bylaw amendment as written by the attorneys representing Whitewater Township.
And I'll second that.
Further discussion, people? Anybody else? Carl, you know where we're at? You understand where we're at? We're getting ready to vote.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All set for a roll call?
Rebant,
Yes.
Steelman is not available, DeYoung is not available, Valmuth,
Yes.
Keaton,
No.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Robo.
Yes.
Was there anything else that needed to be discussed on the bylaws?
Now, my understanding of the bylaws and the power that has been granted to the PC is that these bylaws, once approved by the PC, are in operation. We do not go forward to a board vote.
That's what I understand too, and I printed that out here from the legislature, what they had. And I have it here if let me see the bylaws here. This is on advisory committees, they call them. Okay, it says it's Michigan Enabling Act 33, 2008, 125-3819 bylaws adopt public records recommended annual reporting by planning commission. The planning commission shall adopt bylaws for the transaction of business and shall keep a public record of its resolutions, transactions, and findings. The planning commission shall make an annual written report to the legislative body concerning its operation and the statutes of the planning commission activities, including recommendations regarding actions by the legislative body relating to the planning commission and development. So, and that comes from the legislature, and to me, this is clear that we adopt our own bylaws.
I agree. What I would ask is, Heidi, if you could take that
set of bylaws and perhaps bring them up to the board
I can do that. I
so
give
they
you
can
copies.
see, what we're operating under, and, it might spark some discussion whether they see value in their organizations.
I'll get it in the honesty agenda for you.
I'd add to, I will in the next packet include an updated version of the bylaws so that we have that going forward. That is
In the
effective
PC packet or the board packet?
in the PC packet. I mean, if someone else wants it, I'd be happy to provide it, but I have it in Word and I can just put it in the same format and just blend it in with the existing document. Then we'll have an updated set of bylaws that's in the packet that everyone knows what it says, so there's no confusion in the future.
That'd be a good idea, actually, to get everybody a new updated one.
That's what we did last time.
Okay.
Give it to Heidi
Uh-huh.
so she can get it to the board.
Okay.
That help Heidi, but she can have that now. I'm gonna have it now.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, can I have a copy of what you just read?
Hmm.
Now I don't have to look it up. Thank you.
Let me see. Okay, we're good with that. Okay, the next item, North Place Planning LLC approval.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Okay.
Weren't we supposed to discuss the volunteer pay somewhere around here?
The what, Heidi?
Where'd you put the volunteer pay that I added?
Volunteer pay.
E? Did he put it on E?
I think that was on
10E.
10E.
We're only on B.
Okay, just don't listen.
Okay.
I don't wanna miss it.
Okay. North Place Planning approval.
I could just respond to that. The contract, the updated contract that was approved by the board at the joint meeting was prepared. It was signed by Supervisor Pop. I think on June 22nd or thereabouts. So the contract includes work on both the master plan and now the zoning update.
Very perfect.
Okay. So since the contract was signed, I have started to accumulate some of the information that is available. The handbooks you all have, the binders, the list of amendments that have been done since 1972. And, but I wanted to have a conversation with the planning commission about the steps forward. And that's described in my memo here. This is a large undertaking here to go through the whole ordinance and make sure that we have the updated version, clean this up and reorganize as necessary, clean up language, add graphics, all that sort of stuff that we've talked about many times over the last 6 or 9 months. As this work gets done, it would be helpful to present this to a committee of the Planning Commission, a committee of the Planning Commission and perhaps others, or a joint meeting of the Township Board, Planning Commission, however, or just the Planning Commission. I've seen it done all 3 ways, and but every place is unique, and I want to be able to work on this, get a chunk of work together, bring that forward, review what we have, our understanding of what we have, show what is proposed, discuss any wrinkles or anything that people aren't clear about, or if we can further enhance what we have. But I need to know who to work with here. Is it going to be Planning Commission committee? I've seen it done with a joint meeting of the board, Township Board, Planning Commissions. Yeah, but for the same reason you have subcommittees for other things, we can't let that work's got to proceed. We've got to
Right,
get that
right.
done.
I recall this being one of the items discussed in the joint meeting between the PC and the board. And whatever we were going to do, it has impacts to both groups. So I like the idea of having it presented and maintained in all of the official groups within the township that have a responsibility or have data that's maintained out in that library and in that system. So I would certainly agree, open it up to the board and the PC And if there are others that I don't know of, other groups, then, make them part of it, because that's important for all of us to know where it exists and how to access it. Because we struggle today with a tool that exists, or tools that do exist.
One thing I was thinking when I was reading Randy's memo is it'd be nice, once you get some stuff that you need answers to, that we could reserve, I'd like to see us be able to reserve a slot under unfinished business for, like, if you have some issues, let's say if you have 3 or 4 issues that you want answers to, reserve a slot at each meeting, monthly meeting, say for an hour on unfinished business where you could present this, we could discuss it, and then hopefully you could leave with an answer. And I think that would really help you if you didn't have to wait a long time to get an answer. What do you think, Randy?
Well, I think certainly at a minimum, an update every month as to where the process is. We've gone through chapters 1 through 4. This is what we found. This is our understanding of existing language. Here's proposed language, kind of like what we did with the condominium ordinance, where we broke down existing and potential improvements and then proposed language, so that you've got something that you can see, be as transparent as possible here. I guess my concern is getting all the way done, handing it to people and they go, geez, this is like the next 6 months for me to digest all that.
That's what I was thinking, is reserve a time slot for Randy at each meeting where he could bring us the issues that he needs. It'd be already on the agenda. It'd be reserved for those issues. We could just discuss them and then get his answers and then move on with other business. Is that?
And assign duties as needed.
Yeah, and we could talk, and is that something that we'd want to try to reserve a slot and use that as procedure?
So you're thinking the full planning commission?
Yes.
Or in the meantime, when you're waiting for this meeting to happen, is there a buddy system going here where we're gonna help each other do this?
One question I had, if we have it in a subcommittee and Randy then they have to do the work and bring it to us. Okay, that's going to take time. Another thing we're going to have is who's going to run these subcommittees. We don't have who's going to be here. So if that may become an issue to where we're having difficulty
I don't
forming
think
subcommittees.
we get the board involved until we
I think
get it
you're right.
together
Mhm.
and
I think
maybe
you're right.
meet with them like every 3 months.
Yeah, get something that they can look at. But would we be in agreement that we'd try to get a slot for Randy?
They would still be looking at it on a monthly basis
Mhm.
with
Through the minutes.
reports, right? But what I'm saying is, they really never told us whether they wanted 3 months, 6 months, a year. So we have to give them another invitation and ask them what they want. But I think having a joint meeting every 3 months to say, hey, here's where we're at. I don't know. Do you think
I
that?
think that what time
It's
slot?
pushing it, but
Each community has a personality in my experience, and so there's no one size fits all in this.
well, you're still looking at a 90 to 100-day, 120-day period.
Yeah, that would work, I guess.
Read anything.
I just don't want to spend, 9 months or whatever, or a year or whatever, working on this and then present it and
Well, I was thinking,
It's just
Randy, if we had, would an hour at each meeting slotted to you? And if you didn't need it, let's say if you wasn't ready, we could move on to other things. But is that something you would see that would help you if you had a time slot where
Well,
this is mine?
maybe I just circle back to the town board every month or give them an update or give them, so that they're in the.
Well, we have a slot with the township board.
That's right. Yeah, we can weave it into that. So. This is.
I can talk, we got 2 chances to talk, so you could split where you want to put it.
Yeah, so I was thinking for the planning commission, when you brought it to us, and if you had some answers that you needed, so you could go back and finish. Would that work for you if you had let's say,
Well,
an hour each meeting, or no?
well, that's fine as long as, but we don't control the agenda again necessarily.
Well, we would,
Well, no, but I mean, if,
No,
if,
we don't.
if High Point comes in, you know,
Yeah.
or anything else, I mean, you don't.
there's a lot of things that could happen, but right now, and so far, we've been able, if we had an hour, we wanted to, and you know, our meetings have been running till 10. And so, I mean, but what I want to do, I don't want us to get stalled on the planning, on our master plan and our ordinances. If we could help you with some time so that you can keep moving, and that's my only goal. So if we had a slot, is that something we'd want?
I think we've been trying to make sure Randy has time every meeting and maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but it seems like we're getting off target of what Randy asked us. And what my interpretation is who he wants to know who we want him to present this to, a group,
Mhm.
you know, a subcommittee of us, our whole group, or a blended group between us and the board.
Mhm.
And I like Rod's comments. I would add to what Rod said. This helps to keep the board up to date as to exactly where we are and you know, at what speed or things we're tackling or getting done. The question, which seems to be coming about here, is how often is that gonna happen? And
And who's
can
gonna
we
do it?
get, you know, does that work for the board too? Okay, we can make a decision for ourselves, but we can't make a decision.
Yeah, and they certainly have a
No,
full
we-
agenda too. I mean, they're going 7 hours here.
We have to invite them, so we either have to invite them or we have to inform them.
So I like the idea of including them. It's a matter of, can it be accommodated so that it works? And we still keep our flow moving forward. Because in my opinion, we finally got some traction and we're starting to move.
We can't stop now.
Right, we need to try to keep that moving.
Can I
Go,
make a
sure,
suggestion?
yeah.
This might work where we have a representative from the PC and a representative from the board to work as a subcommittee with Randy to develop, you know, the prototype and, you know, tune it with,
Are you talking about adding a board member besides me?
well,
Cause that's another thing.
I don't know that, yeah, somebody other than
Me,
you. Yeah.
exactly.
Somebody that would say, okay, I need to see stuff and here's how the board may want it presented. That may be a little bit different than the amount of detail we
It's a
may
buddy
want.
system.
Yeah, so, you know, hook up a person from each group, PC and board, and you guys do your prototype, and once you're ready to launch, then we'll figure, you know, what is the answer based on need to know how often the frequency of the PC updates and how often you're requested to provide the update to the board. There will likely be some difference in how that data might be presented back to either group. We probably want more detail. I don't know that the board wants to, but that's their choice. Would that work for you, Randy? If we-
I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're
All right.
saying. No.
a representative from the board, a representative from the PC, work with you directly to build the system. So you can build it to deliver to both groups.
So deliver it to work with those two people, bring it to both the planning commission and the town board.
Yeah,
At their monthly meetings is showing a progress.
yeah,
And then if the planning commission wants to dig deeper into an issue, they
Yeah.
can do that.
and maybe that person from the PC then becomes the expert at some point, and you know, it's not up to you to always present it. Then we bring that in and operate it ourselves. Just a thought, I think
Just a subcommittee.
start as the
It'd be a
subcommittee.
subcommittee of that. What I'm wondering though is do we have the individuals to put on the subcommittee? And if not, then we would go back to the thing where Randy would bring his issues and we'd have a time slot, or he could tell us when we could decide and then Yeah, because I'm wondering if we have that. Do we have the
I
people?
don't know, do we have someone who is interested in,
I'll do it.
into the wonderful world of zoning?
Yeah.
Okay,
I can
It's
teach
such
you
a,
how to
it's
read.
such a powerful tool. We better support it with a person,
Yeah,
it
with
is, I mean,
somebody
it's-
on it.
I don't, it doesn't matter. It's all I gotta do is read. and learn. That's it, and communicate.
I think there's a matter of building ownership of it too, in the sense that, you know, if it's. The more people are involved in it, the more people are familiar with what's changing, what's
Exactly.
being improved, what's being. Enhanced, the better. If it's just a bunch of paper sitting in a folder, somebody's not likely to want to pick up the zoning ordinance and read it for fun.
Well, you even have the question of, you know, the ZBA and the ZA,
Oh,
you know, both of those having a need to access it. So it should be written so everybody that is required to operate off of
right.
that
And-
data.
And that was something else I mentioned, including Bob Hall in this,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
thing here, so that I'm sure he has a number of laundry list of things he'd like to see
Yeah.
improved.
All right, now all I gotta do is get a volunteer on my end. Okay, Randy, are we gonna do paper, rock and scissors for this one? Okay.
Can we make a motion to open the discussion with the ZBA and the board? And, you know, just see what kind of buy-in before we start pairing up people? Or is,
What are you making a motion for the ZBA to do? That's the zoning board of appeals.
well, it's the documentation that they can access.
Well, okay.
I'm just saying,
You wanna make a motion before you even get the board member?
well, I'm just making a motion to move this forward into discussion with board, ZBA, and whoever else that might benefit from this. It, to me, a motion is an action plan. Yeah.
My point that I don't want to generate a whole bunch of stuff independently and then without it being reviewed by the people that are going to be using this and, or potentially get off track too. I mean, if there's material that I don't know about, I mean, better that gets brought in quicker or we're not spinning our
So-
wheels.
Are you talking about making the subcommittee? Before you come up with a motion here, we might be making this too complicated right now. You want, who do you want on this subcommittee besides a PC rep, a board rep? Now you want the ZBA rep too also?
I think so, because they run off of documentation that's held, that will be held within that repository. And you also have the ZA,
And Bob Hall.
yeah.
Right.
and my thought on it was that if we did it where you had a time slot, you brought it to us, everybody would be present and you would present it, we could discuss it as a group, make a decision at that time, and then go, but you're seeing, what you're thinking is that's gonna slow you down if we do.
No, I just don't want to get out ahead of everyone. I don't want to get, you know, halfway through this and then we're, people are saying, go back to the beginning. We don't understand, you know, we gotta, that's kind of a sequential thing, I believe,
Mhm.
in that.
Okay, so. Is there anybody else that you want to add to this subcommittee? Cause I'm trying to write, I'm putting this like all together, like how this committee would form and stuff. I don't know if you can have a motion until you talk to the other parties involved, but
To see if they're willing
I-
and are available.
After listening to this discussion, basically, so far, you've just been presenting to us. And you're asking if we should include other people. And
Right.
Until we, is my opinion, until we get some feedback from these other organizations, whether they want to be involved in this. I think we should just continue as we're doing You present to us, we can have our discussion and keep the ball moving. And
Until,
work towards getting an answer from the board, whether they would like to be involved in this, because it seems to be somewhat of a consensus that we would like to involve the board in it.
Right.
But
You
to keep
still
it so that we don't
right, you
slow us
still have-
down,
right,
we keep doing what we're doing until we can get an answer from them, and if we need to change something at that time, then maybe work on it at that time, but at the moment, what we're doing seems to be working, and I don't want to see us slow that progress down.
I had one question that Randy could probably answer or help me with. Are we not supposed to work independently of the board? And
No,
this wouldn't
I
be,
mean, I guess,
I mean, work with them, but this
Yeah.
would be, this wouldn't be working independently any longer, right?
well, the planning commission has the job per the statute to produce a master plan for consideration.
Yes.
But on the ordinance stuff, it's a little bit different, I believe, in that, the board is the legislative authority, not the planning commission, although there's a role for the planning commission to make sure the zoning ordinance and the master plan
Mhm.
are aligned. But what I'm hearing you say is maybe a work group of 4 people that meets during the day to go over stuff, but then reports that go to the planning commission and the town board, so that we're all, and we can share the work products as we go. I mean, and try that, I guess. Is that what I heard you say?
I'm kind of in agreement with Mike is as you as you have brought us things, we've been able to take care of them, but you have the experiences, so you've done it, you know it works.
Well, it'll be similar to the condominium ordinance, except on steroids, because
we got a lot to go.
there's a lot more to do in there. We're going through whole chapters at a time. So.
I towards your comment about working independently, I don't think we're actually asking the board to be involved in any of the decision-making stuff we're talking about. I think what we're trying to talk, what we're really kind of talking about is keeping them in the loop.
Yeah,
And
If they're on a committee with us, though, they would be involved in decisions.
you're just talking about presenting the information.
yeah, I
to
thought
us.
this was just.
If they're in a subcommittee, though, I mean, when we're talking with Randy, they're still this, so we're working, whether,
Then, read those new
Yeah.
bylaws, maybe you took the votes out.
am I right?
You make a good point.
Other places have just done a committee of the planning commission works on it. Meetings are open, of course, and they were advertised, anybody can come and go, public as well as any other elected official, as long as you don't have a quorum by mistake.
By keep doing it the way we're doing it, there is a board representative here.
Right,
It's like-
until we
Okay.
talk to these other people.
Why don't we just start? I'll just work on a chunk of it for next planning commission meeting. You'll see what we're dealing with. And then if we want to move it to a committee, then.
And
we
yeah,
can
if
do
you
that.
want to move it to a committee, the only thing I could do is maybe send each one of these. Well, I'd have to send every board member. There's only one ZBA chair and there's only the zoning administrator, so I'd have to make probably a packet item for this, an agenda item. Because you're asking one of the other 4 to join us. If you go to a subcommittee, the ZBA and the zoning administrator, correct?
Yeah,
Is
the
there
zoning
anybody
administrator's-
else that you
well-
might think that could come, that might have to come in here besides you're gonna need a recording secretary? Cause you're gonna have to have somebody take the minutes.
I don't- If it's a committee under the planning commission, it's not a public body, according to the attorney.
Right. So somebody else will take minutes in the meeting, in the room? You won't need a recording secretary? Okay.
What?
Be notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. there'll be
Right, we
notes,
don't
that'll
need a
be about
recording
it.
secretary, right? Because there's no,
That's what it says.
that's what's,
Oh.
And there's no decisions being made. All you were doing is working on a draft that's being
So
edited.
you're just editing.
Like, we edited 2 or 3 more times before it's done.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, there's no real decisions being made.
Well, there is in how you're going to present it.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
there
no,
is a
we're not-
decisions being made. We're gonna go this way or do this. So there are decisions being made, how you're gonna present. it
Oh.
to
But
the
you're
people.
keeping everybody in the loop.
It's still a draft. It's still. There's no decision made to. Recommend.
Yeah, you're
for-
no final
Why
decisions,
don't we
yes.
keep it the way we're moving and give him an agenda line.
Okay.
And in the meantime, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 extra people that aren't normally working together that you're gonna have to ask to maybe come to another meeting. And are you thinking these meetings are gonna be once, twice, 3 times a month? What are you thinking?
Once a month, more likely. I can reach out to Bob Hall independently too. I don't need, I can just go call him up. He's here on Thursdays, I believe, and so.
Well, I get that, but what I'm thinking is maybe everybody can get maybe a creative way to the table next month, bring this back next month, and everybody think of a creative way of how you would approach these other 4 members.
And I'll work up a first little section so you can see what we're dealing with.
So that's good, yeah.
And if it's too much for the planning commission to deal with, if it's,
They have to be present in this meeting. They cannot Zoom, correct? Or they can Zoom. Was your subcommittee gonna work? Can they call in or no?
I forget, no, I don't think so.
I don't think you can either. Okay,
forget.
so. And you're looking at this to be how long of a project? 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12?
6 to 9.
Do those have to be held here at the town hall, Randy?
I just kind of roll up your sleeve and look at the zoning ordinance and,
So is everybody in agreement to bring this back next month on a creative way of how you're gonna ask these 4 people to join you? Or do you want me to come up with something creative? But somebody's have to.
One thing we could do is have Randy bring his work to us next month. And make sure we have a slot cleared for Randy. And go through the issues that he presents us with. Of course, we'll have him in front. Before the meeting, so we'll have a chance to review. Then we could come to the meeting and discuss it. And if we can move those things through rather quickly for him, maybe we don't need plan B. But so why don't we, if that's an agreement, like Mike said too, this has been working, but it's not tested yet. Well, let's test it and see if it's acceptable to keep Randy moving. And then that'll give Heidi, in the meantime, that'll give her time to reach out to other members and see if there's somebody willing to serve on a subcommittee.
At least get input from these other groups.
Yeah. And that'll keep us moving. Sorry, Randy.
and maybe that's just at the meetings, bringing it to sharing the material and.
Maybe they just have to show up to a PC meeting.
Yeah.
Then they wouldn't have to go.
I think there's another element here, as I mentioned in the memo, is that there's a learning element to this here too, and seeing how the zoning ordinance is created, how it's gonna be, how it functions, and I mean, not everyone likes to live in the zoning world and appreciates how it's set up and.
Carol, maybe you could reach out to the chair.
I can't hear you 90% of
I
the
said,
time.
maybe you can reach out to the ZBA chair.
I didn't understand what you said.
Maybe you can reach out to the ZBA chair and ask him if he's interested in attending one of our meetings.
Okay.
I'll send you an email, Carl.
Well, are we in agreement then to have Randy bring it the next meeting and we'll discuss it. We'll see how it works. And then we can just go from there.
That is a really wonderful tool
Mhm.
for us going forward. I would imagine that it's going to be very helpful in many of the aspects of
Mhm.
our daily jobs or monthly jobs. Yeah, I like it.
Okay. Okay, do we need a, we don't, do we need a, we don't need any motion or anything like that, do we? Okay. Okay. Let me see. Budget? Rod?
Okay, on page 17,
Mhm.
this is our first presentation on the kind of data that we will be working with, and I am certainly sure that Rachel will be open to any modifications in how this data may be presented. But I would just walk you through a few of these pages. On page 17, this you may have seen portions of it. And I would refer to the center of the page. There was two titles. One was called Original Budget, and then there is Amended Budget. And if you go down to the very bottom line, which is grand total net effect, we have been approved for this operating year for $58,936. Okay, so that's what is assigned to us. That's what we pledge we will work with. And if there are any variations that we start to see where we're under or we're over, it's upon the PC to deal with that, raise the issue with the board, and try to resolve whatever issues being presented. When you look at column year-to-date actual, now this is reflecting from April 1st through June 30th. So during that period of time, we have spent just over $8,800. So we're well on our way to cracking 15% here shortly, if we're not already there. So we are spending, and you can see the columns. We have things like salaries, wages, social security, and on down the list. If you go to page 18, there's a breakout which says page 18 under general fund planning commission salaries. Year to date, we have spent $2,425. When I look at that, I'm starting to think that the $16,000 that was put out in our amended budget, we may have to look at adjusting that. And the reality is we've been having more meetings, more frequent meetings. And as a result, we'll just have to watch that, but we need to send the flags up. And I've started, and I know Rachel has started working with the clerk to run these reports for us. And we will get back to her if we start seeing trends that need to be addressed.
Hey, Rod, I had one
Yeah.
question for you. Would you suggest that we do this at our monthly meeting every month?
I think
Well,
so,
it takes a
because, yeah, we all then understand where the money's going. Sometimes it looks a little awkward in here because we may be funding something that only shows up one time, and maybe a person's got a question is, why is
Yeah,
that $1,000
exactly.
here? Well, maybe it should be, maybe it shouldn't be, but an extra set of eyes and awareness is worth the time. And I certainly agree that a short period of time can get us through it monthly. Page 19. This is general fund planning commission wages, and this is the recording secretary and Zoom service. So we're at $1,832, and if we look at that, we have to consider possibly increasing that. Because we've had a lot of requests for recording secretary and Zoom participation. So the data
Can I
data
ask
will
one
help.
question?
Yeah.
Is any of her survey or stuff she contracted to do personally in this amount here or no? It is just for producing Zoom, recording secretary and minutes.
Heidi, what was the question, please? I didn't hear.
And underneath recording secretary,
Mhm.
see how the amount goes 200, 204, 1,000,
Mhm,
326? Is any of that from the survey payments? Because we asked Lois we hired Lois to do something for us. Is it taken out of payroll here? Or is it gonna be taken out of somewhere else?
I don't have an answer to that. This is based on pay sheets that are turned in. So, you know, I think that.
I don't wanna, Lois, if you can't answer it, I'm not gonna ask you to answer it. But I have to get an answer on that, cause I don't know
Yeah,
if we,
I don't know where they put it.
yeah, I don't know either, so I will get an answer to the question.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, page 20. We're capturing the social security costs. Thank God we're paying our government to operate. 21, Medicare costs. We all need Medicare. And 22 is where one of our recent ROS projects is starting to hit the expenses. And this was the mailing of the surveys. So we know the cost of the copy shop, almost $700 to do that work. And then we had paper that was purchased on a Visa, and it was 2 cases of paper. So the details very clear here. And go to 23. It looks like we have people who are purchasing books. The MTA books hit our cost center. The copy shop, we bought more envelopes. And let's see, 24. Randy's expenses are appearing. So we know what Randy's costs are and what invoices he's turning in. Thank you, Randy. And lastly, this is our planning commission education and training. And we are seeing the cost when Carl ordered his EBA online certificate that was billed to us as we want it to be. And then clerk, treasurer, township board, Jacobson purchased breaking the zoning code. So I think we're getting the detail that we believe we needed to operate our budget and manage our budget. So I'm really pleased with the first format of the data coming out. Now we just have to get smart in how we plan things and stay ahead of, you know, the trends, whether they go up or they go down.
And I think like you were saying, if we did this monthly, we'd just take a few minutes to go over and look at the numbers. No, we're good for a couple more months. We can get away 2 or 3 more months and then, but that gives us time to react. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. And, you know, quite frankly, we have to fit in Whitewater Township's overall budget.
Mhm.
So if we're watching closely, all we can ask is the other groups do the same thing. So we don't get surprises.
Yeah.
You know, as a township.
Yeah, and we can keep the master plan and zoning moving too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a monthly budget review sounds like a good item.
Okay. Any questions?
I just have one quick one. So do I understand we're 25% through the year, but 15% through our budget?
Approximates. We're going to be seeing a fair amount of payment coming up with Networks Northwest, you know, for the work that they've done with us. And we also bought the signs that were placed, you know, for the big campaign. So, you know, we've got couple $1,000s that will hit, you know, our expenses in that mode. So I'll be asking for monthly data and we'll just present it accordingly.
I had a question for Randy. I forgot to ask you, how did we do on our dump day? On our handouts, did you see a bump on our replies for our master plan? I handed out
Replies
those
to the
brochures.
survey. You mean the survey or?
Yeah, I was on the survey.
I don't know. I
I
guess that
handed
would,
out, please answer this.
yeah.
We're gonna do what we want. Yeah, I bet I talked to 100 cars. I talked to every one of them and give them a brochure. Actually, Rod had to go down. I did print out a nice packet of it. Rod had to go down and print up another inch of them.
Mhm.
I was curious if we got a bump.
What you did was exceptional. Thank you. I think it allowed people to sit in their cars and their trucks
Yeah,
and think about what they're going to do when they get home. Because the survey had just started to arrive. But I think it's either 620 or 621 survey responses.
Got another couple yesterday.
is that good?
Oh, yeah.
That is good. Okay,
Yeah,
we're size
We're
township.
above 30% of the adult
That's what we
population.
figured, like the adult population, we're about 30%. So almost 1 out of 3 residents responding to it. So,
Wow.
I mean, I've gotten positive responses from people I know about the survey. They thought the questions were very good and they appreciated the fact that the township's reaching out to them. So,
Good.
I mean, all the feedback I've ever gotten has been good.
I think we did a very good job of reaching out and doing whatever we could on a fairly inexpensive budget.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure there are others who had balloons and, you know, popcorn on the corner, but didn't work for us. You know, the ROS was quite frugal. And they made contacts with some of the newspapers locally. And we tried to get into the ticker. There's a cost for that. So,
Okay,
every potential source was considered. So I think we can call that a
good,
success.
good.
All right.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, where are we in?
Master plan update, are we done?
10D.
10D. Master plan update?
Yeah. I can start out. I don't know that all of you know that I've turned in my resignation from the PC. And I do have health issues. And I was reminded by my wife that my health is very important.
Yeah.
She's counting on me being there. So, you know, with regrets, you know, I'm standing by that decision. And I feel bad. However, this group has launched some pretty incredible things in the last 6 months. And all I can say is, you know, you guys, you have my praise in the highest sense that what you're doing is meaningful to this township. And had I not had health problems, I'd be right with you. So, with a regret, I'm stepping aside.
Well, we're gonna say you'll be in our prayers tonight, Ron.
Thank you. As far as the master plan update, we have turned a corner, or we're about to turn a corner, and I'm hoping over the next couple days we'll see some more progress. But we have just completed payment for this first contract with Networks Northwest, and that was to build a database where we could have people do their online surveys and submit right into the computer at Networks Northwest. That was successful at 132 responses that were captured. Networks Northwest was surprised that Whitewater Township had more paper surveys than online. Usually.
Why, it's 2007.
Well,
Okay,
you can imagine why, but the fact is we got great numbers, but they were saying it would be a flip in other communities. And perhaps it's, younger people, who knows? But the technology didn't win necessarily in how we receive the input. So that's paid for as of yesterday or today. Now we have a contract in front of us with Networks Northwest, which will specifically authorize the transfer of those nearly 400 paper surveys into the online database. So what is happening is the ROS, the PC is not doing any of the manual data or analysis at this point.
probably doing third party, right?
It's all third party, and we've made it as pure as we can, so, people won't be able to say, well, you manipulated data, yada, yada. Well, people may say it, but we did the best we can, given the situation. So we have a contract that I would like to have approved tonight by the PC, and I'll give you a copy of it. I didn't get a chance to make a copy. And it just came in either Monday or Tuesday, so it didn't make it in the agenda. But the cost is Networks Northwest. I think it's like 284, 285 transfers into the database from paper copy. And we have a timeline that would be starting as of this past Monday, and the expectation is that it would be completed by July 31st. Once that
Can
data,
I ask a question? You said 285 transfer, but you got,
485, excuse me.
okay, just make it sure my numbers work here.
Yeah. And I'm just giving you numbers off the top of my
That-
head.
That's okay, but 285, that's 200 less. I
Yeah.
wanted to know who was
Yeah.
gonna pay for that.
Yeah, thank you for capturing that.
Okay,
And one of the problems with this particular contract is they would not issue the contract to us unless we had a final number, and that final number was delivered to them over 10 days ago.
okay, so the ones that Ardella just got, how are you gonna add those?
I don't want to change the contract at
Okay,
this point.
no problem. Late,
know,
you're late. You're late, you're late.
We, at some point, the dribbling in, we just can't carry it and hold on to a contract. to
I
capture
get
those
that.
and
I get
twos.
the,
So we may have another way of doing that, but the ROS has been extremely protective of how the data comes in, how we handle it, and gives the submitter the opportunity to know that if it came in late, if you took the time to fill out that survey, we're going to get it into the database. I mean, sometimes mail is slow, I don't want to go into all the potentials of why that may have been late, but we're honoring it until we stop honoring it. So the approval we have tonight or not will dictate whether this goes to Supervisor Pop and the clerk for processing tomorrow. And we are on a tight deadline, as all of you know, that once that data is captured, then it comes back to us in a form that Randy can slice it and begin to
do you
present
have a
it.
copy of this contract?
I do, I'll make it.
You want me to go make copies?
Would
right
you?
now?
Thank you.
So I believe Networks Northwest is providing with us with a summary, but then also the raw data.
Yeah, here it is.
So that we can then analyze it as we wish, you know, in terms of if you're interested in what longtime residents think versus newer residents, you can separate out answers. I mean, there's lots of different scenarios in that, but that's just one reason why we want the raw data to come to us in a Excel spreadsheet. So we can, you know, if there's questions that come up later about how residents feel, we can take a deeper dive into it.
And I am assuming that we will have the ability to protect that data, so nobody gets in there and corrupts it. I mean, that's an important
Yeah.
piece. So.
And that's what's nice about Northwest. They, with them in control of it, it's secure.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
secure.
I think it was our best option.
Yeah.
And we thought long and hard about,
Mhm.
you know, possibly doing the data sorting ourselves. But,
Yeah.
you know, then you open yourself up to, you know,
Criticism that,
yeah,
what,
yeah.
personal. So it was a good idea, very good idea.
So that is in motion. We'll know in the next few business days whether we can, you know, count on closure with that contract. Then in parallel, there's an RFP that is 90% created. And it's only Randy and I that have kind of been looking at it. So we haven't opened that RFP to other folks to discuss, but as of today, we're thinking that it needs to be targeted for release to vendors by July 26th.
Just for clarity, Rod, would you explain an RFP? Because I didn't just,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
that.
An RFP is an invitation for a company to bid on a project or a service that, in this case, we need someone to come in to help us that has facilitation expertise to run visioning programs or workshops with the community population. We're thinking we will have 100 people or more in the very first gathering. And depending on how many workshops and enthusiasm level in the community, we may run 2, possibly 3 days of deeper dive into, okay, here's what could happen. We cut your data and sliced it, and here's what you've told us already. And we start putting that into boards, you know, pictures of what that might look like. You know, if you say you want a shopping district, let's say on M72, we might show a picture of a shopping center on M72 that would fit the current zoning requirements. Or we may want to show one that says, this might be a little bit better than, you know, what we have today on access and egress to M72. So it will be somewhat leading
Thank you.
pictures, but it starts facilitating in people's minds when they see a visual of different components of how we might deal with zoning.
What it could look like.
What it
Your
could look
decision
like.
may look like, yeah.
So if I could add, a little bit, the ROS did talk about the next steps. You know, the survey was always first step number one, even back when the original proposal was put together, as far as community engagement. That's something that's really critical in a master plan. You want to make sure that you have people participating in the survey, and then also have the opportunity to come to a workshop. And the workshops are always so much better because you have an opportunity to learn, you have an opportunity to talk and discuss, and it's always a much richer environment. I think at the last planning commission meeting we talked about, I did the presentation and showed the different formats. Like you could have visiting sessions, you can have workshops, you can have listening sessions. They're all different kinds of variations of how you do that. In the ROS meetings, we talked about how we could do that in a very, very professional, very strong, very engaging way. And we thought that one thing that we could do to propose is that we engage another vendor to help us with that with the actual meeting facilitation. There's a certain gift, I think, that some people have to do presentations very well and to get people engaged in meetings and collaborate and
They're like cheerleaders.
yeah, and I don't want to minimize it because it's important. It's important work, but there's some people that have a gift for that. And so we embarked on some exploratory discussions with Networks Northwest as well as Leah to talk about their expertise in doing some of these locally here. And they gave us their backgrounds and their experience. Both of them would have some interest in responding to a request for proposals. So to be, as I understand it, the board wants to have at least 3 proposals, or at least reaching out for 3 quotes in something like this. We don't think this is a huge amount of money in comparison. I hate to put a number on it because, but I'm thinking it's in the $5,000 range for them to help us with a couple of workshops. One time, one charge, not a monthly thing. It's one, so a little bit more than the survey, but not that much more. I would work with them as well. And for example, Networks Northwest had some graphics that could be helpful in some of the
Can we
materials.
get this
Pardon?
can we get this into a packet next time so we don't have to rush?
Well, yeah, I guess the decision right now is to ask for proposals for companies to give us their ideas of how this would come together and how they might want to work with us.
You need a motion and a vote.
I have a sample that I prepared. There wasn't time to get this in the packet, but I have a printed version of what the RFP might look like. And I'll just kind of skim through it if that's all right.
I remember Randy was talking about this, and ideally to have somebody else do that for us. They do it for a living, they're more professional, it's gonna look cleaner, be cleaner.
Yeah, also for some of the same reasons we have the survey being done. For some of the same reasons we have the survey being done, having another entity as the face of this could be helpful. So this RFP is very short. It's not something that is lengthy, but it just says that we're contemplating conducting one general visioning workshop for big picture topics such as general preferences and community goals. One of the things that's been frustrating to me in looking at the existing master plan is that there's 4 goals and they're very general and they don't say anything for the most part. There's no real depth to that. Sorry, I'm candid here, but I think we need to get those developed further. That might be the topic for the first visioning session. The second one being more of a focused workshop where we would key into planning issues. We can't identify what those planning issues are at this point because we haven't seen the survey results and we haven't had a conversation with another entity that might help us with that. So this RFP asks for really 2 work elements. The first is help us with event number 1 and event number 2, and they're pretty much similar in terms of the amount of work that somebody would have to put forth. And then so at the end, we ask for basically 6 or 7 responses. We want to know their experience with doing something like this, their available resources that they have in terms of graphics and printing and those sort of things, the staff members who would be available to attend with us. We want a key project manager. Who are we going to contact when we have an issue? We want the costs associated with events 1 and 2. And then expected deliverables. This is a key. We want them to describe the workshop results, and outcomes and with transparency and inclusion of all the public comments. You might remember from the presentation I did.
Yeah. you
It's
do
very
need
important to have those
public
people's
comment.
comments, what they say, actually in the appendix of the master plan, so they see that their voices were heard and considered. And then asking for these proposals by July 26th. And so, since knowing that Rod is stepping aside, we put Rachel as the contact or myself and sending this to Leah, Networks Northwest, and there's two entities that are now doing this similar work with the city of Traverse City, and one's called Placecraft and the other is Great Blue Orange. I
Are
don't
they
know,
all
don't know
NTC?
either of those firms, but they're
Are they
doing-
LNTC?
yes. Yeah, I don't think this project is big enough to try to attract somebody from downstate or,
Probably not.
you know, it's not.
It's communication issues too, and then they don't show up and they're not in the room. But to bring up something you just brought up, how about a volunteer to replace Rod on the ROS committee? Anyone? Think about it.
Do we need a motion, Randy, to approve that?
Well,
article?
I guess if there's any discussion, we should discuss that. Rod, did I miss anything or?
No. Heidi, you asked a question, about dates and deadlines. My experience is that, like building in Traverse City, you never get things delivered to you on time. That happened to us with Networks Northwest on the contract.
Oh, I know it happened. I'm not
Yeah,
pulling
well,
fingers or
no, no,
nothing. I just,
I'm just sharing the information that we're trying to keep deadlines, but it's only whether the suppliers can position themselves and have the staff to meet our requirements. So as much as we want to have this thing move, quickly, but yet manageably, we're still at the mercy of the vendors. So if we were saying July 26th here, that may push some of the people where maybe they won't even reply because, it's summertime. But we are visioning that these meetings would likely be held beginning in September and October. At one point, we were hoping catching people that are still here in the summer, but we may not. But, that's the best we can do. So with that, I would, if there's, now's the appropriate time to make the motion.
Okay.
To, number one is to put this contract number 1730, which Heidi
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
gave you a copy of,
Yeah.
up for your consideration to pass it on to the board for processing. There is a issue here, which is in item number 4. And that's that if you read item number 4, page 1, the township agrees to pay Networks Northwest a compensation services, blah, 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 and it goes down to compensation for the services outlined in attachment A of this contract is set at $2,375. However, the numeric following
sure.
it is off by $75. And then if you continue to look at it, they split it into 2 payments that total $2,375. We would have to make that physical correction at the time of signing, and they're requesting that Supervisor Pop be the signature on this.
I had a question on that. Does the planning commission have authority to sign our own contracts?
No.
Okay.
no.
So can you tell me your motion again?
Oh, yes, to recommend the Networks Northwest contract number 1730 be accepted and forwarded to the Whitewater Township Board for their approval. And
Okay, but wait, you're making some changes on it, right? Didn't you say the math was off somewhere?
yeah,
So we need to make those changes in the motion probably, or are you gonna say as changed and initialed?
well, we can say to be changed and initialed, and I have had the discussion with Supervisor Pop
Okay,
about how he would prefer to approach that.
So
And
he's gonna take care of the changes on here?
yeah, I would expect him to, because he is the signator.
Okay.
okay.
And we don't need it in the
Do
motion,
we,
because we're gonna vote on it as written, and then he's gonna change it and initial it, make the changes and sign it.
Is it for $2,375?
What we will expect this contract to be signed at is $2,415.
Oh, okay.
do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay,
I don't like getting in the middle of contracts,
Mhm.
the final wordage. Okay, is there a motion?
yeah, I think Heidi seconded it,
Okay.
and I think we're,
Ready to vote?
yeah, ready to go whenever. We got Lois, we got her busy.
So the contract amount. $1,415.
Is July 26th, what I'm checking real quick is July 26th make next month's agenda? I mean, I can always add it, but I was just looking.
For the RFP,
Mm,
it should, but it's gonna be another one of those that.
Close call.
It's close call.
Wow.
Whenever you're ready, Lois.
Supervisor.
8, 9, 10. You have to make sure they get that back. And it goes to the supervisor on that day, because he's gonna be preparing the packet already. Because the packet's gonna have to go out the 27th or 28th.
Well, I would
For
ask,
10, I'm just saying
yeah.
for 10 business days, otherwise let me know and I'll add it.
yeah. However it gets done, I would also ask that the board consider if, we can't make that absolute date, that there be some consideration, for a separate meeting for that particular agreement, because these people are in high demand, and we need to get a slot filled as quick as possible.
Well, if they're gonna have this back, if-
I'm sorry, are you guys talking about the RFP now?
Yeah, we jumped to the RFP.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Are we ready for a roll call? Vote for the.
Sorry, I'm like,
I was confused.
This is for.
what I have is a motion by Reban, second by Valmuth to recommend the Networks Northwest contract number 1730 be accepted and forwarded to the Whitewater Township Board for approval and signature by the supervisor for an amount of $2,415 payable in 2 installments.
Yes,
I picked that up.
yes, thank you.
Young is not available. Valmuth,
yes.
Keaton,
Yes,
Jacobson,
Yes.
Robel,
Yes.
Rebant,
Yes,
Steelman is not available.
now Lois, because of the need to speed this through, I have been asked by the clerk for you to extract that particular decision and attach it or send it to the clerk so she can
Put it to the PL.
put it to the PL.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second component is the final review and agreement or signature if that's to happen. And that'll be tomorrow.
Okay, yep,
Okay.
I will get that to.
Do we need, what do we need to do now for the RFP? Do we need to have a motion or?
Yes, I think we need to have a motion to prepare the RFP
To send the RP.
to send and to establish a date and criteria within that RFP that will be satisfactory to all of the requirements of the township.
Was it 483 ballots or 485 ballots? I have 400, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have 485 on my notes and I have 483 on this contract.
I will have to go back and get the absolute number. I've seen so many numbers.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know.
If you'd wanna,
All I can tell you is it's $5 per copy. So do the math.
Okay,
divide
that's all I need to know.
that 5 into 2415, and that's the number we'll give them. And we'll figure out how to deal with anything else, but it will only be off by a couple.
okay.
By
43.
43, okay.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure,
Okay.
because I went from
Wouldn't have
285 to
used
485.
We have a second and,
I'll second it.
okay.
I actually think we got. Okay, just a minute.
What?
Okay.
Just an LPS date and criteria that would be satisfactory for a community engagement partner. I have to send the RFP and establish a date and criteria that will be satisfactory.
Well, I think we have all that in the written RFP that we just went over. So if that's acceptable, we would send that out. And with responses due on July 26th, which would then put it in, allow the planning commission to look at the responses at the next meeting.
At the August meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
August 2nd.
Yes, we didn't go into the absolute RFP detail though. And that'd be my only hesitation.
You what, should we talk about? I mean, if we're gonna get a response back by the 26th, we need to be sure that,
Let's do that.
okay,
Just make sure that everybody understands what that RFP will be. Thank you.
should have clarity here. So again, the first paragraph there just talks about where we are with the master plan, and we want help conducting one general visioning session and at least one planning workshop focused on more specific issues. We can't really name what those are at this point because we don't have the survey results back or the results from the first workshop. So we're asking for 2 work items. The first being helping with that event number 1, the visioning workshop. And number 2, the more specific planning workshop on specific planning topics. We're asking the vendors to respond to items A, B, C, D, E, and F, and G. A is for a brief description of their experience. B is a brief description of what available resources and materials they have to support our events. A commitment of staff members who is going to be actually at this. I mean, if we want to know if there's planning on 2 people or 5. We want them to identify the project manager, who's the key point. We want the cost for events 1 and 2. And then expected deliverables that we're explaining to them that we want a workshop result. Them to produce a document that says the results of this workshop was this. And that we want their proposals by July 26th by 5 o'clock.
The only item on there that I still feel uncomfortable with is whether it's 2 workshops or 3.
Why not go 3?
And then
I mean,
scale back.
and you can scale back if you complete it. I
Well-
mean, it's better to,
I kind of glossed over it. Under E, it says costs for assistance to events 1 and 2 above and optional cost if more events are desired.
Okay.
All right, so,
That's got.
okay, my only other thing is. Are we gonna put this on? Are you gonna get them back on the 26th? Our meeting's on the 2nd. Our agenda will already be out. Are you gonna put a line item on the agenda for this?
Yes.
Okay,
And then have the responses in the packet. So the packet would come out on Wednesday for the meeting.
That was the whole plan when you
Yeah.
said it,
Yeah.
when you scheduled it.
So then we just submit what we get. So the planning commission can see it. And then you can make a decision at the meeting and recommend it onto the board. With recommend the contract onto the board.
And I guess the other question on the table is if Heidi is still absent.
Heidi, I'm here. You mean Rachel?
Rachel.
Yeah.
That's okay. I like being a ghost. It's cool.
If Rachel is not here and should we address this to someone else? Maybe,
Oh, I'll take it if she can't, but I think she'll be back.
okay. Maybe we should change the wording on the RFP to have the two of you.
Yeah, maybe put mine and her on there. That way you got a backup.
Yeah. Or,
You also
We
got
put-
Randy
put
on there
Laura.
too, so.
Yeah.
you're
Put myself
giving
there.
3.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they need more than 2. Rachel's reading her emails and stuff, and I'm bugging her every day, so,
Good girl.
right now she's resting, so we're letting her rest.
Yep.
All right, I hope I got good notes here for her. She gonna not like me if I don't.
did we have a motion to,
What the words I have. Decide if that's what you want.
This is on the
Is there a
RFQ, right?
motion?
Yes.
Send the presented request for proposal for a community engagement partner requesting the proposal be returned by 5 PM on the 26th. On July 26th.
Send these out tomorrow. So they have 2
Should
weeks.
I put in there the 4 places? Actually, it's just part of your paper.
Yeah, if there's other entities that someone knows of, would,
I can't believe there's 4 in Traverse City.
well, yeah. 2
But
are
if
not,
you-
2 are nonprofit and 2 are for profits.
Well, if you,
Okay.
but if you think about it, think of all the townships that gotta redo their master plan, so.
But there's other private firms too. You can
Right.
send it to.
So we
The
need a
problem is
motion.
finding one that's large enough to provide.
All the
those
services,
resources.
yeah.
yes. Maybe have the staff.
We did have conversations with both Networks Northwest and Leah, and there was some interest in them responding, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe we'll get good solid responses.
Did we have a motion? We had,
You have
I
a
I
motion,
read it,
right?
but I didn't hear by who.
okay,
Oh, by Rod Rebant.
And I think,
and.
did you say?
I seconded.
Michael seconded.
Sorry. And
So what do you want me to have her put for a line item for August? You want me to put just RS request for proposals, community engagement partner? Is that good enough for a line item?
To review. That works.
All I'm doing, Al, is giving
Okay,
her what you don't, so he's gonna have a bunch from you and a bunch from
there you
me.
go.
Hey, it's called the buddy system. We're still cross-trained, so let's keep going.
Okay, I'll set for a vote.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Robo,
Yes.
DeYoung is not available, Valmos,
Yes.
Keaton,
Yes,
Steelman is not available, Rebant.
Yes.
What do you stand for?
pardon?
Standard operating procedures.
Um, before we move on to
It can
that,
mean a bunch of other things, so how are you using it, Lois?
On your next item,
Okay, then it's a standard operating procedure.
before we move on to that, are we sure that we've addressed Ron's concerns from public comment? I mean, this is the place to do it, right, under the master plan update? 'Cause we're talking about that contract.
If you wouldn't mind, Ron, would you,
If we
I
satisfy
should
the question
talk
from
to-
public comment?
if you wouldn't
I mean, are
mind,
we good? Step in.
yeah, please step up if you would, Ron. We don't, and
You know,
allow you a
Because
moment
we
to,
don't- We want as much information as possible out there.
I believe the motion you made was to send the agreement 1730 to the board.
Yep.
That's
And-
the motion you made and approved.
Correct, and
So
you're,
that
gonna-
means it's going to the board
and
at
it's
the
not
next
gonna-
meeting,
That's not what we want.
that's not what.
but
we
that's
need.
the motion you made. So now,
Tell us what the right word is.
well,
I
I would say if you want it to be faster, then recommend a special meeting. And I can do that. I can poll the board members for a special meeting. And that's what I will do with this motion that you've passed, because Rod, you said you wanted it to be, as quick as possible.
Can you just reread that for me? Because I thought it said, give it, boom, right to you. So can you reread that for me? please?
could I ask?
To the
Oh,
board.
go ahead.
Forward, so it just says forward to the board.
It says forwarded to the Whitewater Township Board for approval and signature by the supervisor.
So the motion that you made supports what I believe was my tea leaf reading from 517, the meeting minutes of 517, the meeting I was not here at. I believe that was the board's wish that they review this contract. And so that is also the motion that you passed here tonight, is to send it to the board. So my goal tomorrow is to attempt to call a special meeting as quickly as the board can meet.
Let me finish.
Go
here.
ahead.
I have been told that there's a secondary procedure.
I understand what you've been told. But what I read in the minutes is the board wanted to see this agreement. That's my interpretation of the minutes. So yes, Cheryl and I can spend up to $5,000 on our signatures, okay, together. So we can cover a dollar amount.
I have a
But-
question for you.
Sure.
If I could, and now that you've heard what we want to do, is there such a thing that we could just bring that to you and ask you to just approve this for us?
You could,
Would you do that for us?
No,
Okay,
because the board
no,
request.
because the board made a motion and a
It's
roll
right
call
here.
vote on an $800 purchase.
okay.
You're asking me to just authorize something that's 3 times that
Okay.
amount that they've, in my opinion, have said via the minutes that they want a clearer picture on.
You approved contract 3161. Now you've approved contract 1730. So what he has to do now is he has to get with the clerk. The two of them have to kind of do it. First, you have to poll the members and see when you can schedule this meeting. Then she has 18 hours to post it. And he needs a quorum of 3, correct?
Pretty close.
I have a question. Is there any,
Be a special meeting?
Uh-huh. A special board meeting, he needs a quorum of 3. Now, if I'm sitting here and he's sitting here and we're telling you that we need a special meeting, I think you almost got 2. So he just needs to poll and figure out when they can do it.
So are you telling us we need to make a request, to ask for a special meeting?
No, that's
We
what I
just
will
did
do,
it by a
because
motion.
Rod said that he wanted to get this through as quickly as possible. Okay. But I am not going to sign a purchase.
I
order
have,
knowing
go ahead, finish. No, finish, because I want, Rod. Ron, I want you to please explain something. You, can you just explain something you said? You said $5,000 covers for 2 signatures. Now, I know the board says right here, please bring us a contract. I get that. But could you tell me what exactly the rule is? Because I've got 4 different versions of what the truth really is. So,
The truth is in the administrative policy and procedure manual that is, I believe, online. I believe it is, say financials or I don't know.
all right, because I've just been asked I mean, you said I can do 5,000, but at the end of the day, the board still wants to see a contract. Correct?
That's my interpretation.
Mine also, okay.
517.
And is there a way that we could fix that? Did we have our wording wrong that allowed you not to be able to just say, yes, I can do this? Is there something that we can do
Mm-mm.
or no?
17th
Okay,
is where it said it.
So if on the 17th, the discussion in the minutes would have been something similar to, well, will you approve up to a $5,000 figure
We only asked for 800.
without an agreement? I think that's kind of what you did.
And then backtracked on it.
As I'm reading the minutes.
No, that's what we did. You're right.
And I'm making assumptions here. But under item number 4 from 515. I assume it was. Yeah, on page 2 of what I handed out. It's highlighted, okay? So. Business item number 4 is highlighted. Can everyone see that? Okay, then the next highlight starts with a request of up to $5,000 for Networks Northwest must have been made to the board, right?
But we only gave them a contract for the 800.
The board members expressed that they would like a clearer scope of work to approve a larger dollar amount. Now, does that mean they approved the $5,000? I'm certain if they did, a motion would have been made.
Well, not only that, but 800 would have been 5,000, I think.
Okay, so anytime the board spends money, they would make a motion to do that. And so the minutes, while perfectly written, can sometimes leave us with questions.
I want
I have a-
to make a comment. And I think in general, the limitations, and I'll call them financial limitations, seem to be at a very precarious position in terms of how they're viewed within Whitewater Township. And what I'm saying is the fact that a special board meeting has to be brought together to approve a contract of $2,415, which is rental for a 1-bedroom apartment around here. I'm just making an analogy here, so bear with me. The fact that something like that requires such a great leap into the organization for approval still is beyond my capacity to understand. And I am assuming that there are some limitations that exist within this board where you have the ability to define numbers. Maybe not. But I'm coming from a world where reality says I would buy a lounge chair for $2,500. Would that mean somebody putting a lounge chair in this building has to go to a board for that authorization? And I'm just putting it out there because it still is just, it's in my mind that that's not a world that most people in most governments would ever accept other than here.
No, I had one question when Ron, are you done there, Ron?
Well,
When I read this though, Ron, it says request up to 5,000 for Networks Northwest, period. End of sentence. And then it goes on to say, board members express that they would like a clearer scope of work for a larger dollar amount. So in my opinion, what they're saying is our request is $5,000, period.
Yep.
Now, if you want to spend more than that, then they want a scope of work, but it doesn't say, there's a period there. It says up to that, and then they make the statement, but if you want to spend more than the 5,000, you're gonna have to come back with the scope of work. And that's the way I see it, but that's,
I understand that point of view, and that's why I say, even though the minutes are perfectly written, they still leave us with a decision. And so then I go to the next
okay.
sentence, which nobody had a problem with on 517 of a dollar amount of $800.
Well, that was part of
Not,
the
not
five-
24.
That was part of the 5,000.
But it-
Works Northwest.
So my point is that the board did make a motion for the 800 and a roll call vote for the 800. So the threshold must be something below 800 to answer your question about the lawn chair. I didn't make up the rules. I wasn't at this meeting.
But what that said, Ron, is the request was for 5,000, not, and that was the request. Then we asked for $800 to be out of that 5,000. That's the way that was meant to be, or the way I read it anyway. It wasn't like we wanted 5,800, we requested 5,000. And then and it was a thing that had to happen like that next day because these people were, had other things to do. So that's why
Seems to be a pattern.
hey, I know we can't help it. And,
Well, the reality is the township needs to deal with that then. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If that's the reality is that, I guess I've said enough. I've said enough.
Well, he's got, Ron's got a very valid point. The motion was made for only 800, and if they were gonna okay the 5,000, they would have made a motion to do that too. And that is pretty much standard operating procedure, and so we kind of stuck with that. I know what our intent was, and his example of how we might have worded it is probably the more correct way for the minutes to reflect what we were doing, but
and I think if we would have had a
this is where
better,
we are right now, and this is what we have to deal with right now. So
I don't accept that.
I know where you're coming from.
I
come
know
from
where
the
you're
private
coming
sector too, and this government stuff is horrible how things operate. It's the slowest thing you ever seen in your life.
it's,
it is,
But it's where we are.
it's where we
Can't
are,
change it.
and we can't
Or I
change it,
do.
and we have to deal with it. But my question here is, you made a statement that if it's $5,000, you need 2 signatures, correct, or is it 10?
Read the policy and procedure manual.
Oh.
I mean,
okay.
without it in front of me.
Oh, I get it. I'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, you guys, this is a context thing. You can put it in one context, he can put it in another, the board can play context also. But at the end of the day, we now have to send this. And yes, we have to create a special meeting. Because otherwise we have to wait until August.
and that's, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. But you know, the master plan and zoning in upstate, we're trying to keep them going, but
That's the
It's very
goal.
difficult when you keep running
That's the
into,
goal, is Do the best we can to keep it moving
we
forward.
keep it running.
Okay, so how do we? Discussion regarding if you go up into number 3 too, we discussed regarding purchase orders, how it works. The limits are 1,000 and under the clerk can approve 1,001 to 5,000. We need supervisor signature also. What we have to remember is, yeah, we need to push this forward, but while pushing it forward, we have to take into account the supervisor has a job to do. He has to get an agenda together and we have to meet all these criteria. Just because we don't agree with it, I don't know how else to tell you about government, but this isn't surprising. And we have to fix it somehow and we have to move on. But is there some way, I understand the frustration here. So how do we prevent this from happening again?
I'd like to make a comment, though. I really think that it would be helpful to have that policy and procedures manual. I don't think I've
You
ever,
still don't have a copy?
I don't. I think it's a unicorn, quite honestly, because I've never been able to locate it and I've asked for it and I don't. I've looked
Yeah, I think
online.
I have it on a stick. I
It
will
would be
bring it to
very
you.
helpful to have that, to where that we can all follow the same rules and not
I
have
think
to
I have it
guess
on a
what they
stick.
are at different times.
But mine's kind of outdated. It's 2
Well,
years
that's,
old.
then that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Let me just throw another scenario out there, because I'm not done yet, is that when the government builds a building, okay, and I find out that I forgot a rafter. I didn't order a rafter, and I've got $1 million, let's say a $10 million building. And I have to order a $2,415 rafter. What does the government do in that situation?
Same thing we do, whatever their policy and process
Change order.
is, they start.
Yeah, okay.
It's
That's
complete,
all that's all
right,
I-
it's completely. It's a different way of thinking. You have to think in 90 to 120 days on anything for government, right, Michael? Is that about right?
Yeah, everything comes to its.
It's 3 years to do a master.
Well, and the thing is too, that's why the master plan, you know, what's it, 72, is it what, 15 years since it'll be done? And it'll be another 5 getting it done this time.
Right.
And what we're trying to do is, we're trying to get this done because it really needs it. And like Ron was saying once before, you know, when the master plan and the zoning ordinance don't speak with each other, you can open up for lawsuits. We're trying to fix that.
Yeah.
But the choice is, we can either fix it here in a few months or we can take a few years. But we need some help.
This is a bump in the road and we just need to deal with it as best we can and learn from it. And then as we move forward, try not to make the same mistake again. That's
So in the
getting this
meantime,
manual is part of that solution.
right, and in the meantime, if we blow the agenda, meeting the agenda date at the board level, then I can always add it. As long as it's not a special.
Yeah,
meeting.
and Ron had said he was willing to call a special meeting. to
This
get
could
this
be
done
dealt
for
with
us.
next week.
I'm sorry.
This could be dealt with next week, as I understand it.
Yep.
Right? If there's a special meeting, you can get together
Yeah.
and you could get it done and we lose a few days. That's not good, but it's not.
I'm trying to say
not the end of
in
the
the
world.
future, when we're like the July 26th. Feel free to butt in here. Feel free. Feel free.
Sir? Oh, no, go ahead. So I don't know why you're struggling with this. It's not your problem. You made the motion. It's coming to me tomorrow or tonight. So my work's cut out for me. For any of you to say that it's going to be handled next week or tonight yet is really out
Can't
of
do
your
it.
realm.
Yep. It's not your problem anymore.
So my commitment to you as a team is to get it done as quickly as I can. If that means this week yet, it'll be this week.
Awesome.
Okay? So, yep, there's hurdles. There's bumps in your road. There's bumps in my road. We all deal with it. Nobody's complaining on the board side. Any last questions?
Hurry.
Excellent. So, I'll go to work yet tonight and get this request out to the various board members. If we can meet tomorrow, we'll meet tomorrow. So,
Terrific.
let's
Appreciate it.
work together
Awesome.
and get this done,
Appreciate it.
right?
Yep.
I'll go over the hoops I gotta go through. You go through the tunnels you need to,
Perfect,
okay?
Awesome.
Deal.
perfect. Good. We appreciate it, Ron. Thank you.
No worries.
And one last thing, while we're on the topic of the planning commission, I'd just like to say a little something about food for thought. Over the course of going through these chapters, when I read the history part of,
You're talking about the master plan,
the
right?
master
Right,
plan,
okay.
when I read the history part of Whitewater Township, all of that is very interesting. But something in my mind that is left out, and maybe it's recorded somewhere else and it doesn't need to be here, but there were two diphtheria pandemics in this township. And the first one happened naturally, and the second one happened when they tried to move the cemetery. It seems like that would be a good thing to put in the master plan for future generations down the road. It's a very convenient, right out front, open, everybody can see it thing.
Wow, that's really good to know. Can you? Right,
What's our, just Luann could probably give you the dates. I would just be guessing. I've heard them, but those dates don't stick in my head.
okay, what do you need? You need an email, what do you need?
Well, I'm hoping to get, I know you're going through it. carefully.
I got some stuff to give you.
Okay, good. Maybe we can get together and go
Yeah.
over it, stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And anybody else too. I mean, this isn't, this is put out there for this reason. We have this kind of lull in this process, not lull, but there's obviously lots going on, but if you can't sleep at night, you want to read the first 4 chapters, there you are. I know of a few things that I've found that are missing that we need to do, but I want to make sure we collect all the responses. And also too, I mentioned this before, if there's anyone out there who knows a professional photographer who wants to be able to donate some pictures with recognition, obviously in the plan, we could use,
I might know somebody.
okay. We could use those photos. I mean, what you see in there is my iPhone and a little bit of Photoshop, and that's it.
Right.
So,
I'll ask her. She lives in,
I know somebody too.
Williamsburg.
maybe they have better photographs of things that I have in there, or maybe there's other things there's
not the same person, is it? Who's in Acme?
Okay. ROF.
Standard
Procedures.
operating
Yes.
procedures.
Yeah, procedures,
Operating
checklist.
Procedures, we
Yeah.
have to talk about the pay. But Keith's not here. Do we pass the bylaws? What do you want to do? Do you want to forward it to next month so he's here too? I don't know how we talk about something without a party not being here.
Okay. Do you want to table that, Heidi,
You're gonna have to.
till next month? Okay. Okay, next meeting is August 2nd. 7 PM and public comment,
Amendment 81.
amendment 81. Oh, okay.
Yeah. You guys, we went through that whole public hearing. And the home occupation ordinance was amended. But I don't know where the copy is.
Want to table that to next month?
Well, yeah, because I have to go back through the minutes and
Okay.
figure out why 81 isn't in our book.
Okay.
Because it should be. And I don't know why it's not. I know what it is, but I don't want to tell you that I don't know it verbally, word for word, so it's pointless.
Okay, we can table that and put it on the agenda for August 2nd. Does that sound good?
Yeah, we'll do 81. Where are you?
Okay. Good. Next meeting is August 2nd. At 7 p.m. Any public comment?
There's one from Zoom.
Okay,
Okay. So, this is Sue. And so Sue, I've unmuted you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Clear.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. It's been a really good meeting. I've learned a lot. I have a question for Mr. Pop, if he's still there. Mr. Pop, are you there?
yeah, but he can't talk to you.
Okay, well, then maybe he can comment after my comment. So I'd like to step back to the contract, $2,415. I'm wondering, once the board reviews that, is your intention then to send it to legal? Because that's gonna cost us another $2,415 plus significant time. So my question is, what is the process after review by the board? What then happens? Is it sent to the lawyer? Is it sent back to the PC? So are we gonna spend more money? I guess that's my question.
I'm not sure, but I would think if the board approves the contract, we initiate the contract.
They send a lot of things to legal.
Yeah, okay. Can you
Yeah,
confirm, Mr. Pop, with your comment, please?
I don't think he can answer your question.
When can he answer my question?
Send him an email in the morning.
Okay,
Need to be-
that would,
Need to be rude. I'm gonna try to find your answer right now, but I don't think I'm going to be able to.
well, I think the public needs to know how much money we're spending. I think that's really important. I think other people want to know. So, I mean, is it the common practice that these kinds of contract for that amount of money goes to legal, or is that standard
Yeah,
procedure?
amount.
I thought it had to be 5,000, but it could be mistaken, and this is 2415.
Exactly. And so we're talking about time. We're talking about time, we're talking about money, and time costs money. So I would really appreciate a response sometime soon. Thank you.
Okay, okay,
Okay, I'll wait till comments.
okay. PC discussion and comments?
All we got here is is regarding purchase orders. We don't have an answer on contracts.
Okay,
We gotta find that book. I gotta find that book. I'm just gonna go see the clerk.
okay. Well, I would believe we're. Go ahead, Randy.
I just want to thank Rod for all of his time and effort in this thing. This is probably your last meeting, I would imagine, right? So, thank you. Thank you very much for all your time. You put in a huge amount of work.
Be a private citizen in the audience.
You've been very helpful. So
Yeah.
thank you for everything.
It sounded like me. That's what I said too, wasn't it?
Is that what you said, Lois? Yeah, don't give up on it.
Flies for a while.
Yeah.
They're slow.
They're just like this,
Mhm.
just like government. Slow as molasses.
Something faster. Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it. It's been a learning lesson.
Okay, continuing ed. Citizen planner updates. work
Oh,
for-
wait, I had something on continuing that timeout. Oh, I gotta know. Continuing education on zoning and police power ordinances, how it's gonna be mixed together. I didn't know if I told you guys wanted to do that.
Well, thank you, Heidi. Mhm.
Stupid dog. in the bushes fighting with the deer.
Okay. We're ready, but did you have anything else, Eddie?
No, I just want to get, I'm gonna get an answer on that contracts.
Okay.
Bills and
I believe we're ready to adjourn. At. What is that?
9:30.
9:30.
you need a motion?
Thank you, everybody. Rod. Good luck, McCrandle.